Hi, today we will talk about the two-dimensional array. So in the previous videos, we learned how to define one-dimensional array. For example, we can define one-dimensional array and the size of the array is 5 and we can give it values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In this video, we will learn how to define two-dimensional array. So how to define two-dimensional array? First, we write the data type of the two-dimensional array, and then I write the name of the two-dimensional array. It's y in this case. And then instead of writing one size of the array, I write two sizes. First, I write the number of rows, then I write the number of columns. So it's like a matrix of 2 rows and 4 columns. And then I can also give it initial values. So one way to think about the two-dimensional array is to think about it like array of arrays. So I have 3 arrays or 3 rows. Inside every element of this I have array that has 3 arrays, and every array has 4 elements. So for example, I can have first array 1, 2, 3, 4, second array 5, 6, 7, 8, and the third array is 9, 10, 11, 12. So as you see, two-dimensional array is like array. Each element of this array is not a number, it's an array itself. Another way to look to the two-dimensional array is to think it's a matrix. So actually we can write it something like this. So it's like a matrix. So in this matrix we have 3 rows. This is row 1, row 2, row 3, and we have 3 columns, right? So it's like a matrix. So I can make them like adjacent. So in C++, remember that we can add spaces, no problem. So you can add spaces like this just to make it looks like a matrix. Okay. So in this matrix we have 3 rows. So the first number here in the two-dimensional array is the number of the rows, and here is the number of the columns. It's 3 rows, but the first row is row 0, and the second row is row 1, third row is row 2. Same like the column. The first column is column 0, column 1, column 2, and column 3. If you want to access one element of this array, you have to give it 2 addresses, 2 indices. So you say I want to access y 0, y 0 and 0. In this case you say I want to go to row 0. This is row 0, and in row 0 I want to go to element 0 in this row, which is this element, right? It's the 1. So this should print me 1. Let us try. Yes. Now if I want to print row 1, column 2, so which one will print? This one. I will go to row 1, which is the second row. I will go to the third column in this row, which is 7. So in this case it will print me 7. So if I want to print the 10, which indices I should write? So that 10 exists in the third row, so it's the row number 2, and it's in the second column, it's column number 1, because we start column 0, column 1. So this should print me 10. So in this case we saw how we can access elements in the two-dimensional array. Now let us try to print all the numbers in the two-dimensional array. To make this, we have to make two loops. The first loop for the row, so I have 3 rows, so I is less than 3, I plus plus. And the second loop is for the columns. So in this case, I will choose another index name, j equals to 0, j less than, what's the number of columns is 4, j plus plus. And inside the inner loop, I can print y, I start with the row, and then j. So this, let me print a new line. So this will print me all the numbers in the array. So from 1 to 12. Why it's like this? Because in the first iteration, I will be 0. And then I go to the next loop. J will be 0. So when I print the first element, it will print y00, which is the 1. After I print y00, it comes here. But this is the end of the inner loop, the small loop. Then I have to go to increase j. So j will be 1. I is still 0. So it will print then y01. y01 is this element. So it will print 2. And the same way it will print 3. It will print 4. After it will print 4, it will go to increase j. j will be 4. This condition is false. So this will finish this loop, the inner loop. After this, I come here and I finish the large loop. After I finish one iteration of the large loop, I will come and increase I. So now I is 1, it's not 0. And then I go again to the inner loop from the beginning, j will be 0. So I will be 1 and j will be 0, and this will print 5, and so on. So this will print all the elements. But what if I want to print these elements like a matrix, like every 4 elements in a row? In this case, I don't make end line every time. Let me make \t and I delete the end line. So in this case, it will print all the numbers. Sorry, I have to delete the end line. So in this case, it will print all the numbers in one row, but this is not what I wanted. I wanted every 4 numbers in a row. So in this case, I have to see when the small loop is finished, and before the large loop is finished, I have to print a new line. So in this case, it will print end line every small loop. So let us run the code, and you will see now when the row is finished, after finishing this small loop, I want to print new line, and then it goes to the next row. When the 4 elements are finished, I print a new line, and so on. So last thing I want to try, I want to print the sum of all the elements in the array. So I initialize one variable called sum to 0, and every time I write sum equals sum plus the value that I need. So it's yij. So every time I am adding yij to the sum, and at the end of the 2 loops, I can print cout the sum is, and then I print sum. So the sum of these values are 78. So in this video, we learn how to create two-dimensional array, how to access them, how to print them using a loop, and how to sum all the elements in the two-dimensional array.